Hi, everyone, and welcome to the July meeting of the Bike Walk Commission. I am your chair, Tanner Thompson. In attendance, we also have Commissioners Nick Pappas, Manny Salgado, and Judd Ailey. From TMP, we have Greg Pacelli. And as always, we have Delene Bird, who's our excellent note taker. Thanks, Delene. Our first thing on the agenda is public comment, and it looks like we have several members of the public who are here. The way this works is that, wow, I'm impressed with our participation here from the public. Delene, I'm wondering if maybe the Christine who's an attendee might be Christine, the commissioner. Do you mind unmuting her in case that is Christine? And then promoting her to a panelist, if so?
Hi, it's me.
It is you. Okay. Are you a panelist now?
Vote you over.
Okay, great. Then let the record show that Christine Biscaglia has joined us. And yes, thank you to everybody. Oh, also Carly Kramer from the redevelopment is in the attendees. Do you mind promoting her to panelist? She's got an item on the agenda later.
Okay, she's been promoted as well.
Thank you. Alrighty, thanks to all the members of the public who are here. The way this works, we're going to go via hands. We got 2 hands up so far. I'm pretty sure that Zoom shows them to me in the order in which they were put up. So I'm going to go in that order. So feel free to put your hand up if you have a comment and leave it up until you have a chance to speak. So first we've got Jaden. Go ahead, Jaden. Welcome to the Bike Walk Commission.
Thank you. So I guess I just wanted to, sorry, I just got a little in my hand. I just wanted to bring to attention an issue that I have on not West Ave, but on a particular street, Richards Avenue. When I'm biking, like I basically bike there all the time. When I'm heading to my school, sometimes I just don't feel like driving over there, so I bike. And there are no bike lanes on that street. And the bike lanes there, there are a ton of potholes within those bike lanes. So every single time I try to like maneuver over there into those lanes, I'm constantly bombarded by the street itself. And then there are drivers as well who are not used to bikers on that street, and so they get super close. Like there were times where I have rode and there were cars that would get super close to me, like close enough that they almost like clip me. And that's happened on more than one occasion. I'm very fortunate to have not been clipped, but it's just been a bit of a worry for me, and I'd like to see some improvement on that street because there are no sidewalks on that street either. So I think it's just kind of it's a hazard right there. It just worries me.
Well, Jaden, thanks for your comment. Just to make sure that we're all on the same page, are you talking about the section of Richards that is south of NCC?
Yes, the one by the cemetery, going all the way down, leading down to Fox Run.
Oh, okay, that's north of NCC. So between NCC and Fox Run,
okay.
you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Tanner, if I could just hop in real quick.
Yeah, I was going to give you the opportunity. Go ahead.
So Jaden, so last year we, this in coordination with DPW, and through a community connectivity grant with the state of Connecticut. So TMP and DPW, we coordinated to pave Richards Avenue south of West Cedar Street. We installed bike lanes through the community connectivity grant project, and then also installed a new sidewalk on the side of where the Home Goods is, right near Route 1. For this coming year, this summer, we will be paving Richards Avenue from West Cedar all the way up to Philo Street, and we will be installing the remainder of the bike lanes, which will bring you all the way up to Philo Street, and then those bike lanes on Philo will continue all the way north up Fox Run and then Ponus as well. So those bike lanes on Richards and Philo Street will be installed this year once it's paved.
Okay, that's great. Is there a particular date, like just like when will this be started? I mean, I know
so the paving contract is underway in other locations, but it will happen sometime this summer. Once the paving contractor has moved on there, we wanted to wait till the summertime while school was out of session. That's for the public works schedule, was to do it in the summertime once all the schools were out. So that should be coming soon. this coming year. And then we're also going to be implementing sidewalks and then some improvements to some of the intersections at the frontage of Fox Run School, where last year we also did sidewalks as well. And we're going to be installing a new sidewalk on the other side of Phyllis Street as well, in front of Fox Run School. A walk off the school last year. We did a walk and they provided some updates that we could do around the school, around the elementary school there.
Okay.
So hopefully that improves your commute.
I hope so too. I also want to ask about the NRVT, about that trail, if there was going to be plans for an extension of the NRVT.
Jaden, are
Anytime
you
soon.
talking about extending south of the aquarium or north of Broad Street?
I'm thinking north of Broad Street.
Yeah, Greg, you can take this one, right?
Well, yeah, so we're looking at we're looking through other through grant prospects to look at some additional funding to plan and design for going north of Broad Street there and continuing north where we just finished the boardwalk there on one adjacent to 123, and then continuing north of Broad Street to get you further north. So in the long run, we're trying to connect all the way to the city line with Wilton, but we're going after we got funding for design to do that next section there, so that will be forthcoming.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jaden.
And
for-
and one more thing, Jaden, if you do see
Yes.
anything else, biking related, walking related, roadway related, feel free to use the city's click and request app to report anything. So this
Okay.
way it gets directly sent to us and we have a record of it and we can, we'll look to, do what we need to do to rectify it.
Okay, that would be a great tool for me, but sadly the app doesn't work when I make requests. For some reason, it logs me out of the app completely, renders it unusable.
Okay, no, I didn't realize, I haven't heard that
Yeah,
before.
Greg, I've heard reports from other people that as well. And actually for a while, it wasn't working on my phone, although it is now again, thankfully. But what's the correct escalation path for people who have like technical issues? Is it
So
IT?
if there's technical issues, you could always feel free to send an email to customer service. You could always do that. I don't have the email on me right now, but it's on the customer service website at City of Norwalk. You could always send an email or you can call the number as well, the customer service number.
Jaden, have you tried reinstalling it? Just
have.
uninstall? You have, that didn't help, huh?
No, it did not.
Okay. And what's your commute again by bike, you said?
So usually my commute is from I live on 20 West Main. I live on West Main and I bike all the way to West Norwalk on Richards Ave. I go to Norwalk Community College and I usually just go there just to work out. So there's sometimes to meet with some people like going to the career center like I went to today. And so that's about maybe a 20-minute bike.
Okay. Well, that's glad to hear you're commuting by bike.
No, it's a lot of fun. It's just the drivers, they make it hard sometimes.
They do.
Well, thanks again, Jaden, for joining. In the interest of time, I'm going to move on to the next member of the public. But to close the thread, Greg mentioned customer service. If you just Google Norwalk customer service, it's the first thing that comes up. The email is here. It's just customer service at norwalkct.gov. Pretty straightforward. But to underscore what Greg said, click and request is, if I'm not mistaken, the preferred way. It's the same as customer service, but if you prefer to use a digital interface, click and request is the way to do it. And that creates a ticket that goes straight to TMP if you create it in a category that falls under TMP's jurisdiction, like sidewalks or the like. All right, let's move on. Diane Lauricella is the next member of the public. Go ahead, Diane. Welcome to Bike.
Yes, thank you, Chairman and Commissioners and staff. My name is Diane Lauricella, And I've lived in Norwalk for a long time, over 40 years. I can't believe it. Anyway, I did look over your agenda tonight, and the reason I decided to come and speak to you all is I recently was involved in a public hearing based upon the tree warden. And Mr. Thompson and Mr. Fox, Paul Fox, were there, and others that could not be there. It had to do with trees that were scheduled to be removed at the Sono train station on the New Haven side. So I guess that would be called northbound. It depends on who you're speaking to, or eastbound. I think it's northbound. And when I was reviewing the recording, as well as just had time to do a little bit of hunting, I noticed that it appears to me that, because I do, first of all, I wanted to say I submitted to Chairman Thompson and Greg Pacelli a letter this morning, and I would like that to be made part of the record. It has to do with my question related to whether the beyond the trees, it had to do with whether the design changes that appear to be in force now were properly discussed and changed, because they appear to me to reduce the intention of that design originally, because I did see it when the Planning and Zoning Commission voted to approve, or as a referral, about a year ago. I spoke with some zoning commission members, two of them, and they recall a different looking design on the New Haven side than I see today, related to the addition of a bus lane and the removal of some of the traffic calming and other features. So I ask tonight that you take this up as an official additional business. I don't know if it's old, it is kind of old business, but it's also new business. And you can do so through the general vote related to understanding and just discussing at this point as to what the status is of the design, why it was changed, and whether or not there's a need to have more discussion about it before it moves forward any further. I do believe in proper but reasonable government process, and I have been noticing on other projects that at times, after an initial public period for the public to discuss something at various boards and commissions, that sometimes plans change in an important and big way. Little tweaks here and there, as long as it doesn't drastically change the intention and the design, are okay at times, because it's, things change. But this is quite a difference. And I'm been noticing that certain agencies, boards and commissions take a little more liberal leeway in changing things without going back to groups like Bike Walk, as well as Planning and Zoning Commission. So the two zoning commissioners I spoke with said that they do not recall having drastic changes like I see now for that section, and they would remember them. It was within a year ago. So I ask that you consider a discussion focusing on this, and then seeing whether additional discussions need to take place, but in the light of day, not behind closed doors. I'm not suggesting Bike Walk is a very transparent group and is evidenced by the way the public participation. I'm talking to TMP and the Economic and Community Development Bureau and the Redevelopment Agency and the Mayor's Office. I think that I know they strive to have a transparency, but this appears maybe that it might have been falling through the cracks. So I thank you for your time, and I'd love to hear the conversation.
Hey, Diane, are there particular concerns you have in these changes? I'm not familiar with them, but just wondering if there's something in particular that concerns you, or is it just the change itself?
Well, what I saw on a design originally there was a circle and trees were not going to be taken down. It would provide shade. As you know, South Norwalk, it has much less tree canopy than the rest of Norwalk. The circle was to, I believe I was told it was a traffic calming measure. There's many other ways to do traffic calming, so I'm not suggesting that's the only way, but it was on the original plans presented to planning and zoning. And what I'm concerned about is now there's a kind of it almost looks like a street going right through that section of the train station, almost a 3-lane roadway going through. And I know there's a plan to possibly move the bus pulse point to South Norwalk train station. But I just want to make sure that the right groups are weighing in for these design changes. Does that help you, Judd?
Well, Judd, you're muted.
I'll have a look and see.
All right,
I'll look at the plans.
a couple things here. First of all, just by matter of process, Greg, what's the preferred way for Ms. Lauricella's letter that she wrote over email to be entered in the record? Can you just attach it, or Delene, can you attach it to the minutes, or does it need to be read into the record?
If Greg, if you want to email it to me, I can attach it to the minutes.
Yeah, no, that sounds good, Darlene. I'll email it over to you.
Okay, thanks.
Great. So second of all, Diana and I spoke earlier today, and since we have spoken, I did double check the plans that are on the Planning and Zoning Department website. And there is, here, I'll just share my screen so that it's unambiguous.
Actually, Tanner, before we go,
Yeah.
just keep in mind it's not an item on the agenda. So it can't become a full discussion item here where we're showing plans and everything. So if you want to put on the next meeting agenda, we could, but we can't make this into a full discussion item without it being on the agenda, without the proper public notice.
Okay, then we won't discuss it, but I think that we can help clarify things, and I'm just gonna show what's on the city website.
Getting into what's different on the plan, which is a discussion on the plan itself.
Yeah,
Point-
Tanner, I
point-
think you should put it on the agenda for next month.
Put it on the agenda for next month. You could show the
Point-
plan and then you talk about what's different, then you're discussing the plan.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead. Dan.
I'm not sure that Greg is familiar with this, but the rules of order that Norwalk operates under is a chairman of any board or commission can, if you so choose, can propose to place something on the agenda that is time sensitive, but your commission rather, has to vote by, I think, a 2/3 majority present. And then an agenda item can be placed onto the agenda. Doesn't matter about
Diane,
FOI.
Respectfully, Diane, it has to be published 24 hours notice. That's for any commission, any committee. You can't just put items on the agenda based on when the meeting starts. We can't do that.
Well, I'll research it and send it to you, Greg, but
That's fine. I've
others
talked with many people, and Judd, you've been on a lot of boards
Yeah,
meetings.
but Greg,
Items on the agenda.
Robert's rules do allow that.
I understand that, but we've been instructed you can't add items to the agenda ad hoc, because then this is going to spiral out of control.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I'm just telling you,
I understand that, but I'm just trying to keep to the agenda.
But if it, just say, if it were to go to a vote right now, I would decline because I would like to have this done the proper way. And
That's
put
what
on-
I'm saying. I'm trying to respect. the
Yeah, so,
Notice here, I understand Robert's rules, but I'm trying to respect the public and giving them
Yeah.
enough, lead time. And
Okay, so at this point, Greg, I appreciate your perspective. Diana, I appreciate your perspective. In the interest of
Thank
not
you.
wasting
Thank you.
people's time, I want to summarize what I found, and then we will move on. What I found is that the elements that Ms. Lauricella is bringing up are not reflected on a revised civil site plan that can be found on the Planning and Zoning website. I think they were in an earlier version. They are not in the most recent version that Planning and Zoning approved. So, Diana, if you could take a look at that. If you have further concerns, bring them up to me. I'm happy to put it on a subsequent agenda, even if somebody else is interested in discussing these further. But I think that the thrust of the original concern can be satisfied by that. Having said that, in order to avoid this becoming a discussion, I think we will move on unless there are any protests. All right. Are there any other members of the public here who would like to speak? I think I saw another hand up, but I don't remember who it was.
Mr. Fox, you are unmuted if you'd like to speak.
I mean, I had two things. One was fairly similar to what Diane brought up regarding those plans, so we don't need to relitigate that. But in general, my concern is yeah, just the lack of traffic calming, the same as her. My other question was regarding crosswalk signals. I've encountered a couple of crosswalk signals that have various minor to major issues. Either the button doesn't work, or there's no audible indication, or the audible indication is excessively loud, or it's inaudible. I've tried reporting these on Click and Request, but they haven't been fixed as a result. What is the procedure there generally?
Greg, can you take that?
Have you received any status from the customer service at all, or what does it show?
It shows resolved, but I go back to the crosswalk signal and it's the same as it was before.
Okay, so you're saying it was not addressed.
It says closed, yeah.
You can send an email to me.
Okay.
I don't know if you have my email, but I'm happy to give you that, so you can send it directly to me, and then we can create our own customer service order based on your concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Paul, for bringing that up. Thanks, Greg, for being willing to escalate. I do want to remark that this is part of a larger category. I think I brought up before that a lot of people who use Click and Request complain about how there's very little, feedback. There's little indication of whether the thing is being worked on and whether it's finished, and communication back to the reporter. And I would love to escalate that kind of categorically as well. I don't know, what the fix is there, or how feasible or infeasible it is to improve that, but I think it's something that would be worth improving. All right, moving on. Are there any other members of the public? I don't see any hands. Speak now. Oh, actually, I will mention, generally the way that we try and do things is that if you're a member of the public and you have a comment about anything that's on the agenda, we prefer that you do it now, as opposed to later, so that we can keep the meeting streamlined. So, for example, I think that maybe a few people are here to give feedback about the demonstration project. Greg, would you disagree that we would rather have that feedback now than during the item?
Yeah, that's fine.
So you'd rather have it now?
No, you can. I mean, whatever works better for you guys.
Okay, like I'm happy to do that during the item, but if okay, then let's just do that. Then I will close the public comment portion, but I will open it up as we have time for it, during other parts of the agenda. So, thank you everybody who came for the public comment. We're going to move on to, I guess that's the next agenda item, so that's pretty easy. The demonstration project, Greg, I'll introduce this and then I'll let you fill in some details. On Sunday, TMP, together with FHI Studio, their consultant, and many members of the public gathered on North Main Street at the intersection with Ann Street in front of the movie theater to do a demonstration project for the city's Complete Streets initiative. And I was there along with, I think, at least a few other people on this call. Several of the members of the public that are in attendance, I think. And I think it was a lot of fun. It was a great success. We painted several areas on both sides of North Main to narrow the roadway, which so I've gotten this question a lot. Why did we do it? Greg can add some more detail if he wants, but what I've been telling people is that by narrowing the roadway, it induces drivers to slow down by creating the feeling that the street is narrower. That improves safety as well as the shortened crossing distance. Now pedestrians have a much shorter space to cross and thus can do it more quickly, which increases safety. It also, I think, brings a lot of life to the area. So I want to thank TMP for all the work that they've put into making this happen. I want to thank all the members of the public who turned out. And now I'll turn it over to Greg to do the rest of the recap.
Yeah, so as you noted, Tanner, the location was at North Main Street at Ann Street. It was aimed at improving, pedestrian safety and basically improving traffic flow, incorporating slower speeds and prioritizing transit riders as well. We included a new crosswalk, new pedestrian head signals as well for the new crosswalk. Made adjustments to the travel lane structure, just overall to make the intersection more safer, more efficient for all roadway users. In total, we converted about 2,500 square feet of asphalt to pedestrian space between both sides of the street, as well as the ped refuge island in the center of the existing crosswalk that was there. So that's a pretty significant amount of square footage that is basically unused asphalt today. That's just added asphalt, and it's just a sea of asphalt today. So it was we were looking at areas that were highly pedestrian trafficked, also had a transit stop as well, and especially areas that we could significantly make a difference in the structure of the roadway. So that's why we selected this this location as well. Plus we wanted to get the community involved. We got some restaurants involved. Obviously you have Cafe Social that's right there as well. With outdoor dining, we were able to incorporate a parklet with some greenery as well around. So, yep, there's the area right there. So we were, this really thought that we took a lot of different aspects of Complete Streets and able to incorporate it into this one. So just for everybody, just to give a quick background on what a demonstration project is. It serves as a pilot to gauge the effectiveness of proposed changes before a more permanent solution is made. Like other projects, still a considerable amount of time went into the design. For months, we coordinated with our design guide consultant, FHI Studios, for creating the concept plan and reconfiguring the roadway layout. And again, it provides the city and the community the opportunity to see how the concept works. And prior to advancing to a more permanent solution, still the same amount of time went into this plan as went into other plans, concept plans that we've done. There's still a lot of coordination, getting the right layout, as well as procuring all the items that were included, all the delineators, the parklet. We had a lot of coordination. We got the parklet from the city of Manchester, a lot of coordination with the police department, the Norwalk Transit District, Public Works Department, LAS parking. So there was a lot of moving pieces to this. It wasn't just going out there and just putting some stuff on the pavement and calling it a day. There was a lot of lead time and a lot of coordination for months leading up to this. So we appreciate all those that participated. And, a lot of time on foot as well, meeting all the, going around to all the businesses and trying to get people involved in it as well. So certainly not an easy project to undertake, but we're very thrilled with the results and the turnout that came out for the day.
Greg, how long will it stay in place?
So we're gonna leave it out there for a month or two. We're gonna see how well it does, how long it holds up. It was a pretty hot day when we did it, so I think the paint dried pretty thick when we did it. So we're gonna leave it out there and see how it holds up, because we refreshed the existing crosswalks as well. So we're hoping it stays out. It stays out for a little bit. Definitely, into the late summer, and obviously it will be gone by the winter. Before the snow comes. So we're gonna see how it plays out.
And plans for any future?
Well, we're gonna see the effectiveness of it. We're gonna obviously take the public opinion. And we got a lot of cards that we collected on the demonstration day itself, and we're still gonna be accepting it all the way throughout. So we're gonna see how it operates. We're gonna do our own kind of collection and see, visually see how it's operating and seeing if speeds are slower, and see how, pedestrians are feeling and the businesses are feeling about it. And, from there, we'll take it to the next level and look to advance it to a more permanent solution. You know, there's probably gonna be some tweaks that need to be made to it.
Mhm.
You know, it's not gonna definitively be, this is what we're gonna do. But overall, I think this is what we're looking to do, and, you know, and then we'll make some tweaks as it goes forward.
Good. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Greg, I want to throw in a couple questions. First of all, I remember in the design and even on Sunday, on the day of, there was talk of incorporating some sort of information panel where people who were there in person can walk up to it and learn about more what the project is about. I didn't get a chance to find that or see it. Did that get installed? And if so, what does it look like?
I don't think it was installed as of yet. I know we had talked about it. You know, but we definitely want people's feedback on it. So that might be something that we look to do. There's actually on the there's an email that people can send their comments on. So we'll be putting that out on social media again for people who didn't see it or didn't see the pamphlet, so that people can provide their feedback and you know, let us know what they think of it.
If I'm not mistaken, that email is completestreets@norwalkct.gov.
Correct. Yep.
Great. Yeah, I would encourage everybody who has feedback about it to email. If you're here in the meeting, I would welcome you to give it here too. Manny, go ahead.
I was curious if you guys are also just checking it out. I mean, I was curious if you guys, besides feedback, if you're kind of just seeing what traffic patterns look like and that sort of thing, if there's a different way that you guys are also kind of like examining the changes.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to look at, you know, the speeds as well and see what, you know, if the speeds are slower than, you know, they were before. And, you know, also looking to make sure, you know, if there's any crashes that occur, you know, we always look at those to make sure that's not coming up. So we'll pull all the reports and see if there's any crashes that occurred, and you know, look back at the, you know, previous crashes from the area as, you know, compared to what it was in its original layout. To see if there were any changes through there. Obviously, no crashes is a good indicator. If we see any, or if there are any very minor slow speed crashes as well, so that we stick to more minor crashes, and hopefully, you know, more importantly, no pedestrian related crashes. Obviously, that's what, you know, ideally we want. So, you know, we want to make sure that it operates the way that we intended. And like I said, if there needs to be some adjustments that are made, we'll learn from that, from what the numbers come out to.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Greg, I've got another item here. Pretty shortly after the paint went down, I started to see cars kind of not really understand the pedestrian island, the refuge island. You know, driving in it mostly. One of the pieces of feedback I have is that it seems like putting some sort of more physical delineation, whether that's a bump stop or a flexi post or something, to indicate that you're not supposed to drive there. I think that would make pedestrians feel a lot more safe. Like personally, I can only speak from my own experience. Personally, it doesn't feel like much of a refuge island because there's nothing keeping a car from driving onto it. Can you comment on whether that's part of the fast follow through, or if you need to see more evidence? Or
It's not part of the plan as of now, because I mean, we would have done it if it was. You know, we're really just looking at, you know, the overall size of it as well to see how cars are operating around it. But you know, obviously, when more hard infrastructure goes in, it will be a raised. You know, if we were to go with a refuge island there, it would be a raised protected island there. So we don't have any intentions of installing, you know, any delineators or rubber curbing or anything in that spot right now.
So is it fair to say then, to generalize what you just said, that you're not looking at making incremental changes to the streetscape there, but rather evaluating what's there and then making like a plan for a permanent solution, and
Yeah.
jump right from where we are now to a permanent solution?
Mhm. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, and I mean, all those, if you have comments about it, you know, you could send it back saying, you know, what you just said there, you know, and we'll take that into consideration.
Yeah, I'll write something up that's more detailed, but at a high level, it seems like this is a great opportunity to to try being more iterative. Iterating multiple times and kind of understanding what works and what doesn't before going to something permanent. Obviously, I'm not the professional, but that from what I understand, that's the way that a lot of cities do it, and they have great results from being able to be iterative.
I understand that, we also have to look at to ensure that, vehicles turning left from Ann Street onto North Main Street are able to make that turn as well. Without anything, at that front edge, that leading bullnose edge of the refuge island as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's something that we could go out and monitor, by watching in person. But also, if we put flexi posts up and the flexi posts get run over, then that's, you can very easily draw the conclusion that
That's true. That's true.
it's too far out there.
Mhm.
And inversely, if they don't, then I think you can draw the conclusion that it's reasonably placed and that people can make the turn fine.
Yep. Well, we did also significantly shorten the crossing just with the two sides that we brought in as well.
For sure. Yeah. I guess what my most fundamental concern here is that by putting the island there but not protecting it, I think the island seems half-baked. And people second guess, like, why is this even here? Right? Like, if we're not going to put any sort of physical thing down, from my perspective, I'd argue that maybe it wasn't worth putting the island there in the first place because it's more confusing than anything. If we're gonna have the island, we should lean into it, or at least experiment with leaning into it and see if it works or if it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, then we rip it out. But that's from my understanding, that's the whole point of using paint and flexi posts and stuff like that, because it's low cost, because it's reversible and flexible. It allows us to do that when we couldn't with concrete.
Understood.
Great, thanks. Other feedback on the demonstration project? Again, I think we're open to members of the public commenting if you have something about the project. Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is great. I really like kind of this tactical iterative approach that lets us try things out. I think it was great to see so many people turn out and be interested in this. Yeah, I mean, the one I guess critique maybe that I have to add to the current setup is that it's a little bit, the bus stop there, it's a little bit awkward boarding the bus. Because you're kind of right at the edge of that outside of the parklet, kind of right at the edge of the where the flex posts are, and you're at street level, not at curb level, so you got a big step up to get to the bus. So just something to think about maybe in the future.
Well, I believe I think we put a ramp, a movable ramp there, for off the curb there.
Right, but then when you board the bus, you're boarding not from the sidewalk, but from street level.
Right.
Which is a little bit awkward.
So
Got it.
just to be clear, Paul, previously the bus would pull up right to the curb, and so you could step from the sidewalk into the bus.
Yes.
And everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which would be addressed when a hard infrastructure would go in.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Paul, go ahead. Did you have something else?
No. That's and also just like I guess this is mostly maybe just an adjustment thing, but it can be a little bit hard getting the attention of the bus drivers because there's a lot of there's not like you can't stand by the bus sign or sit down because then you're kind of blocked from view by the parklet. So you have to kind of stand out at the edge there for the bus drivers to be able to see you.
Understood. Yeah, provide all this in the comments. This is all good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll mention this in my comments as well, Greg, but just because I'm thinking of it, it seems like for subsequent projects that also incorporate a bus stop, moving or duplicating the bus stop sign into like a sign, even if it's just like put in a bucket of concrete, that can be placed temporarily in, a temporary parklet, that could address at least part of what Paul's saying. Any other comment on the demo project?
Well, I just want to say it's awesome, and I wasn't able to be a part of it, but I hope that, you know, in the future there would be more opportunities to have projects like this where the community comes together and, you know, helps assemble it together.
Let's go into that. We have a hand up from Eric V. Go ahead, Eric.
Tanner, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I had a good time painting with you guys in that Tom Sawyer fashion. I ended up doing a mindfulness walk at the Sawyer Library, and we kind of followed that route. And they were asking me what it was about, and I kind of gave a similar explanation to what Greg was saying. But is there going to be any more in the future? That was like a question that I was asked.
So this was part of our Complete Streets project.
Right.
So it's part of the design guide and implementation of the ordinance. So as of right now, we don't have any additional ones planned. This was a lot, you know, to put this on. This wasn't like I said earlier, wasn't just get all the stuff and go out there and do it.
I was there, Greg, so I totally know. And I was talking to Garrett. I was there as well. I was just wondering because people were asking if there's going to be another demonstration. I was wondering if you had one set up, maybe for Wall Street or something along those lines.
Not at this time, no. Not to say that one won't happen in the future at some point, but not at this point.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greg, a follow-up question. You mentioned that you mentioned this was a lot of work to get to the point where we could actually do the project. Was part of the process to go to the traffic authority and get approval? This was subject to traffic authority approval, right?
Correct, yes, we had it because we closed the street, so we did have to also go to the traffic authority, because we did close the street for a few hours, so yes,
Gotcha.
pending apartment, per traffic authority approval.
Was it just the street closure that needed approval, or also the subsequent new street plan, the traffic plan?
Well, I mean, it was mainly for the street closure itself, because we were closing a city street, pretty important one too at that. Even if it was on a Sunday morning, there's still pretty good significant amount of traffic, and also for the business owners as well. To have a different traffic pattern coming in. So that's why we started doing the outreach to the community early, to let them know what was happening. And obviously there's other routes to go and places to park where you can walk to those places. So but yeah, we had to go through that approval process for the street closure.
Gotcha. Thanks. Any last questions or comments about the demo project? Alrighty. One last thanks to TMP for putting it on. Plus one to what Eric said about how can we do another one soon. I would love to be part of another one soon. And with that, we'll move on to the next item, which is the design guide status, which is also great. Go ahead, Craig.
So just real quick. So currently we're still in the process of development of the Complete Street Design Guide. And on top of the design guide is the accompanying roadway design guide, the bike guide, and as well as the traffic calming matrix selection guide as well. So these are all different documents that relate to the design guide itself. So just to reiterate, the Complete Street Design Guide is it's a guide that will design, construction and implementation of the Complete Streets Ordinance. It'll provide recommended lane widths, pedestrian bike facilities, stormwater management techniques, and other strategies for roadway safety, depending upon the roadway typology itself, based on the existing roadway classification. And also it's going to be based on the current land use as well, per the updated zoning regs. The roadway design guide, it's an update of the existing city roadway guide, which I believe was made back in the 80s. So it's a very old roadway design guide. So that's going to be updated to the most up-to-date modern design guide. And then along with it, you have the bike design guide, which is a pretty comprehensive document. We started looking through that, and it's pretty significant amount that provides recommendations and standards for planning, design, and implementation of infrastructure, dedicated to bikes, depending upon what that typology is and, again, what the land use is. So, and also the fact facility matrix is kind of a traffic calming measure based on roadway volume, roadway speeds, vehicle type. So it's a cool matrix that will be incorporated into the design guide process. So it's more than just the design guide itself. It's also, those 3 other accompanying documents that will be tied to it as well. So we're right now just continually going through that, and we're really into the nitty gritty of it now, going through all that. We're also right now we're continuing the development of the Complete Streets Ordinance along with the Ordinance Committee. The ordinance will establish the procedures for evaluating street projects to ensure they meet the needs of all roadway users. There will be public involvement process with the Ordinance Committee as they continue to put this together. So keep an eye out for that. That will be forthcoming very soon. So we'll keep everybody up to date on that. So it's a lot of moving parts with Complete Streets now that the demonstration project is done. Now we're moving into the more detailed work of the design guide and the accompanying documents, and then also the ordinance as well, which is very, very well needed for Complete Streets design guide implementation as well.
So can I ask a clarifying question, Greg? This is the first that I've heard about this this bike design guide or bikeway design guide. Is that'll be a separate document from the
It'll be separate from the design guide itself, yes.
But it's also not just like an existing guide, for example, from NACTO. We're not just copy pasting NACTO. We're writing our
No,
own.
we're not copying and pasting it, but there's also flexibility that we utilize, like the AASHTO design guide, the NACTO bikeway design guide, which is the new version will be coming out later this year as well. So there is flexibility in that. It doesn't just, if it's not in this document, then it doesn't exist. It's
Sure.
not.
I'm curious to know more about this document. It sounds like we're going to have essentially a Norwalk specific bicycle design guide.
Correct. Yes.
Well, that's very cool. And
But also, like I said, keep in mind, if it's not in the guide, then it doesn't exist. We can also relate to, like you said, NACTO, AASHTO, and other, FHWA separated bikeway design guide. So there's other
Sure.
guidance books that we can.
Yeah. No, I'm not worried about. I'm not highlighting this because I'm worried that it's going to be too constraining. If anything, it's a signal that I hadn't seen before that we are paying specific attention to bicycle design, which is encouraging.
Yeah.
So thanks for the details on that. Is there any chance that is ready, or that a public draft of that is available for a draft of the full design guide, or do you expect?
Yeah, it's not even close.
Not even close. Okay, so that'll kind of be
there is a lot to take in, and they're kind of piecemealing it, just because there's so much information to go through. So we're sifting through that right now, which is taking a lot of time. But now's the time to do it. So we're excited to go through it.
Gotcha. Other questions for Greg about the design guide? Any more detail you want to share, Greg, before we move on?
No, that's pretty much it.
Alrighty, then let's move on to the next thing, which is the redevelopment agency. Do we still have Carly here?
Yep, I'm here.
Awesome. You want to just jump right in? I guess, yeah, I'll just let you jump right in.
Sure. Well, first start off, Tanner wanted me to talk about, we got RAISE grant that we applied for $14 million, which includes improvements to MLK all the way from the intersection of West Ave, MLK, North Main, down to Wilson Ave, which includes road diet, bi-directional bike lanes, bike path, all separated, protected, and other street calming improvements, landscaping, sustainability and resilience elements of stormwater management, as well as wayfinding component that includes digital signage. And you guys provided us a letter of support for that, so I want to thank you guys for that. So with that, there's a lot of investments coming into the urban core, especially South Norwalk, a lot of federal and state funds that we've received over the past few years. We've also gotten recently a reconnecting grant to study better ways to improve the connection between the Wall West neighborhood and South Norwalk because I-95 as a divider. So all of this money coming in, we really want to look at ways to use technology and data to improve efficiency within the management of transportation and also just ease of use for people to, you know, forgo cars and be able to choose either bus transit or other modes. So we're applying for a $2 million SMART grant that would fund a pilot program for putting in these sensors and integrating them into a mobility management hub. But the biggest part of it is a community outreach program in order to determine, you know, the highest needs of the community and transit users to really be able to target what sensors we're going to implement. So there's not, we're not saying we're definitely putting in these air quality sensors or these bike lane sensors. That'll be determined through this process. But the idea is really to use technology and data to better manage the funds that we have coming in, to make everything more efficient, and to, you know, we have 4 different departments that really work, plus, you know, other smaller committees and agencies that work on transportation. You have TMP, redevelopment, the Norwalk Transit District, and even Metro North. So creating a central data share database that we can share data and also build out the places that we're taking data in from. So really concentrating on the smart cities aspect of all of these planning and infrastructure projects that we're doing. So we're requesting a letter of support for that grant, and the grant is due on July 12th.
Thanks, Carly, for the overview. Just to clarify a couple things, there, in case people missed the jump there, Carly was describing 2 different projects. One of them was money that was just awarded, or
Yes.
award that was just announced for the streetscape improvements and the digital signage for transit, for example, up and down MLK. And then there's the second one is a grant that they're applying for. I think you said that was in the amount of $2 million that you're applying for?
Yep.
Through the SMART program from the federal government. And for that one, you said that it will be most of that money is for the community outreach program. So
it's not necessarily the
go ahead.
largest part of the budget that we're still building out, but the largest piece of what we're doing, or a large piece, I should say, is first and foremost planning and gauging from the community what's the most important piece to implement. So it's 3 buckets. It's community outreach, it's design and planning, and then piloting of hardware.
Gotcha. So the money they're applying for will cover all 3 of those buckets.
Yes.
Got it. All right, then I'll open up to questions from commissioners, and then from the public. Christine, go ahead.
Well, I don't have a question. I just want to congratulate Carly and the whole redevelopment agency. And that is an extraordinary accomplishment. I mean, that's really big news. And it's wonderful for that whole area. So congratulations.
Great. Thanks, Christine.
Judd, go ahead.
Hi, Carly. You said you obtained a grant for, did I hear 14 million?
Yep, that's the RAISE grant that was just announced last week.
And that money will go toward actual physical infrastructure changes, improvements.
Yep.
Wow, okay, that's great.
Judd, this was covered in multiple outlets, including at least the hour. You can read about it. This is what it looks like.
Okay, I will.
Other questions? Christine?
Well, I guess, thank you, Tanner. And I guess my question would be, would there be future opportunities for this commission to participate in the allocation of the money? I mean, not like the bulk, of course, that's you guys with the infrastructure, but just kind of consulting or giving some suggestions, maybe? Are we gonna be, consulted with in the future on this? In
Yep.
any way? Thank you.
Yeah, so a piece of this, the easiest place to implement technology is in physical vehicles. So the bus obviously plays a big role in that. But pedestrian and bike, ways to increase, if that could be anything from sensors on bike lanes to show how many bikes are going through, especially as we implement the new bike lanes on MLK. It could be, detecting sidewalk issues, anything like that is also a piece of this. So the Bike Walk Commission would definitely be an integral part of the stakeholder piece of outreach and getting input from that.
Charlie, for the awarded money for the 14 million, for that project, how much public outreach or, as part of the design process, how much public outreach is still yet to be done there?
A lot. There's still plenty. We don't have a design for MLK. Yeah, there's concept designs, but they haven't been now that we have the money, you will move into having, going into actual design work. So there'll be plenty of outreach opportunities, public meetings, things like that. That it'll be definitely a robust planning piece of that grant.
Cool. Do you have any sort of timeline that you've developed so far for like when those meetings might happen?
No, it just was awarded, so we don't have anything yet.
Okay. Other questions? Especially questions about the grant that the redevelopment agency is now applying for. The one about data collection. The ask that Carly brought to me is whether we would write a letter of support. And I think formally, if we want to do this by the book, we should vote on whether or not we're going to write such a letter. As many of you know, but to make sure that this is part of the record, I work professionally in transportation data. I work on Google Maps, and so I understand, I think, on a pretty intuitive level, the need for good data. Whether that's, Carly mentioned a whole host of different potential types of data that might be collected, whether that's air quality or pedestrian counts or bicycle counts, data being collected, perhaps mounted on buses or mounted stationary or otherwise. I think this is a great investment. Without knowing more about the exact data that would be collected, which remains to be seen through all of this community input. I think this is a great initiative, and personally, I support it, but I would love to hear other commissioners. If you have concerns, would love to hear you raise them now, and would entertain a motion to write such a letter of support.
Well, I think it's a good idea too. So I'll make a motion for the Bike Walk Commission to write a letter of support for the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency for the SMART grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Thanks, Nick. Do I have a second or any questions?
I'll second.
Judd seconds. All right. Any questions or comments before we vote? Going once? Alrighty, all in favor? Alrighty, that's all 5 commissioners present.
Great, thanks so much.
Carly, anything else you want to add?
Nope, that's it. Thanks
Okay.
for your support.
Thank you for working on this. Alrighty, the next item on the agenda, just doing a time check, is 7:04. We have one more agenda item, and that is to discuss upcoming events, and then we will hopefully vote on the minutes from last meeting, and then we'll be done. So, I think Nick, I don't know if your name was on this for the, I guess it says everybody, but, Nick, can I let you kick this off, since you're kind of the owner of events?
Sure thing. So I guess right now we've got the two on the horizon, being Nice Festival and Oyster Festival on the agenda, so we'll keep it to that. Nice Festival, I'm going back and forth with the planning committee. Due to like the timing of the fiscal year and our budget year, I've had some challenges in getting a payment for essentially having us register as someone who can coordinate activity there, as well as providing a certificate of insurance for the event. Things are kind of to the nitty-gritty considering the event is this Saturday, and it would be a challenge not only to get that documentation, but also getting I think it would be 11 hours worth of volunteer time. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't really have much comment other than that.
So are you saying that that it's up in the air as to whether we'll have a presence at the Nice Festival?
At this point, yes.
Okay. And that's because of two constraints. One is to get insurance. I imagine the insurance is only necessary if we do a bike valet.
I
Right.
suppose so, yes.
And then the other would be the $250 that they want as a like a booth fee, essentially.
Right.
Have you confirmed with them that if we were to vote on that tonight, now that it's a new fiscal year, I think we can vote to spend money in the new fiscal year. So if all the commissioners are on board, we could vote to spend $250 tonight, but would that be, is it too late to have done that?
They weren't open to the idea when I mentioned it. So they didn't really say yes or no. I don't really have a good answer for you. I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you have a suggested course of action?
Well, I think considering that you have a point for not doing bike valet and only tabling, I can kind of bring that idea because the conversations revolved only around valet. But that still kind of leaves the question of whether or not we can have commission funds allocated for paying for the tabling fee, so to speak. So
Like, you mean whether or not they're cool with it or whether the city's cool with it? Because I haven't ever seen anything that would suggest the city wouldn't be cool with it.
right. I guess the worst case scenario is we allocate the funds and don't use them. Because kind of their reservation was if we needed to vote to do this, there was a possibility that we would vote no. And so they weren't so comfortable with that.
But if we voted yes tonight, then that would resolve that ambiguity.
I suppose so. I mean, you're right. So yeah, I mean, I see no harm in voting to spend that money. Like I said, worst case is we don't end up using it.
And then the other question would be about the certificate of insurance, which I think is still, based on the email thread that I was CC'd on, it seems like that's still an open question. It may or may not happen, Greg.
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear back from the risk manager. When we originally reached out 3 weeks ago, because of the new fiscal year, the new carrier could not issue one because it would have expired on June 30th.
Yeah,
So we had to wait until the first of the year, first of the fiscal year. So I reached out and I have not heard back from him as of yet. So he has to reach out to the carrier to issue the COI for the Nice Festival specifically.
yeah, but that, I mean, it's Monday, it's a short week, but it is a work week, so, you know, I think there's a reasonable chance that he gets back to you now that we're in a new fiscal year.
And he was aware of it previously, so it shouldn't surprise him,
Yeah.
or the carrier. It was just something that we could not do a few weeks ago and had to wait until the new fiscal year kicked in.
Yeah, that all makes sense. And then the last constraint, Nick, that you mentioned was getting volunteers, and I think that's especially important if we do the bike valet, but you'll still need a few volunteers even if we just table. But that's also something that can be worked out between now and then, I guess. But what I'm getting at is that what I would suggest, the course of action I would suggest, is that we vote to spend the $250 to get into the Nice Festival because it's on our strategic plan. We've been talking about getting the Nice Festival. We've never done it before, but we've been talking about doing it now as part of this year's plan for a while. And it seems like there's a path to do so. And then I would say we should shoot for the bike valet if provided we can get number one, the COI, and number two, volunteers. And if those two things don't come through, then we just bag the bike valet and we table only. That's what I'm suggesting. Nick, what are your thoughts?
It's my feeling that I would have to confirm that something that would require insurance would be something that the Nice Festival organizers would want to be hashed out more ahead of time than kind of what you're suggesting.
So you think that if we were to ask them now, they would say no, even if we had everything lined up because it's too late?
My feeling, yes.
Nick, even for a table, they want insurance. Is that?
I didn't get the impression that they would want insurance if we were to adjust the table. Yeah, I didn't get that impression.
But they do want $250 if we just leave it.
Right.
Okay, then I think that that's still then my position is that we should allocate the money and then we should work with them this week to see whether we can make the bike valet happen. And if we can't, then we still table it.
One of my other questions, oh, sorry, Christine has a question.
Yeah, Christine and then Manny.
Yeah, no, we do have some connections there. Like we have a good relationship, like with some of the organizers. So I don't think it would be a problem. But having said this, I'm unavailable on Saturday, so I cannot commit to that. I'm sorry, I'm traveling. But I agree, Tanner. I think it's worth, checking in. They're very approachable. They really appreciate people participating in this, and they get a really good turnout.
Yeah, Manny?
I think that was my next question, the manpower. Because I know Nick mentioned 11 hours, but I don't know if that implied bike valet potentially. But if it was just a table, would we have enough, personnel for manning the table or running the table? Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's an open question. I'm happy to take on some of the work of coordinating the volunteers. I think we have a pretty deep bench in terms of volunteers that we could tap into, especially with a few days' notice. And if I need to do some of that, I'd be willing to. But we also one dimension of this we haven't addressed is the time frame. The Nice Festival is a multi-day festival, right? Is it Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Yeah. Nope, just Saturday.
Sorry?
Just Saturday.
Oh, just Saturday. Maybe I'm confusing with the Oyster Festival, which is the other thing on our agenda. But it does run all day, if I'm not mistaken. So like staffing the booth all day is different than staffing it for, the core 3 or 4 hours.
Right, it's 11 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yeah, that's I don't know that we would need to, especially if it's just a booth. I don't know that anybody's going to be interested in leaflets at 9:30 p.m.
Yeah, that's also true. Bike valet implies that people are going to be there till the end of the event and want to collect their bikes at the end of it, but tabling doesn't necessarily.
Yeah. So any other questions, or does somebody want to move to allocate that $250 for the festival, or suggest that we don't?
I'm going to motion we do. If I guess my first question is if we have enough commissioner, I will also be out of town, and so I won't be available to volunteer. And so I guess my question is, do we have enough of the volunteer core available to volunteer, and then we can get other volunteers? But with that said, I do motion on trying to allocate the funds, just because this is a good opportunity to, have a presence in the community.
Yeah, thanks. I want to reiterate that we can allocate the money and then decide not to spend it if we can't find any volunteers, which seems like the worst case scenario, and it's not very bad. So, but Manny has made a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Judd. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, that's everybody. Then Nick, I will work with you to nail down the specifics, especially on the volunteer side. Is the volunteer side the side where you could use the most support?
Definitely.
Okay, then I'll work with you on that. Anything else about NICE before we moved on to Oyster?
No, just keep in mind that I'm gonna run the idea by the event planning committee to see that this is still something that they're willing to work with us on. There's a non-zero chance that they might not, considering the proximity of their event. But like you said, we have the funds allocated. So worst case scenario, we just don't use them for that.
Okay, I think we're all on the same page. Then do you want to talk to us about the Oyster Festival and our plans for that?
Yeah, so Oyster Festival is just something that's creeping around in my mind, if you will. I think we have to get into the habit of allocating funds for being a organization that participates at these events. I think I was kind of misguided in my assumptions that certain events would just let us do our thing because we're providing a service for free. Because it seems like I'm not getting that other than from what I've gotten at the Earth Festival, or rather at the Earth Day Festival. That being said,
for what it's worth, Nick, I met with Tom Livingston this week, the mayor's chief of staff, and mentioned that the NICE Festival was charging us, and he was also a little surprised that they wouldn't let us in without paying. So you're not alone.
Okay, well, I guess that's kind of comforting. Yeah, and I was going to say that for the Oyster Festival, I remember when I'd asked for some quotes for the active transportation microgrant. I believe Manny said that it was $800 to like register for the Oyster Festival. We hadn't gotten very far with the planning last time we were looking into like bike ballet services there, but I'm thinking it might be worth like allocating some funds for that. Before we do that though, I want to confirm that it was Manny that did it, and confirm that that was like a hard or a rather dependable quote that we could like vote on. If not, we can we still got August, because Oyster Festival is September, to vote on that. So we can kind of punt that over if that's not a number we're confident in.
I think I was the one who checked on that, and I think I found it on the website, but I'm gonna double check that because it sounds pretty high, but unless, I guess it's a big ticket event, so maybe that is how high it could go. But I'm gonna just sleuth around on the website a little bit or on the internet just to double check that.
So
Good thing.
with this much, sorry, go ahead, Nick.
Right, and so like seems to me that just from our previous conversation, are like three big logistics that we have to hash out are like registration fee, volunteer coordination, and insurance certification. So Manny will look into the registration fee. Greg, do you think is there any harm in just getting a certificate of insurance prepared for the Oyster Festival in advance? Like, is it anything that if we don't end up using it, is that okay?
Yeah, it should, I mean, we didn't use it last year either. So I mean, it's definitely something that we can get ahead of time.
All right, yeah. If you need an email from me to kind of get some writing behind that, I can do that, but is that something that you can set in motion?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, send me an email with any of the information that you got so far. And this way we'll get that going, with the city's risk manager.
All right, we'll do.
It would seem to me with this much lead time, if we have a good relationship with the Oyster Festival, I would hope that we could have a conversation with them and demonstrate that having a bike valet at their event would be valuable to them. I think it's a little bit different than us tabling there. Us tabling there, we're not very different than any other business or organization, and it makes more sense to me that they would charge us for it. But if we're providing them a service that helps people arrive at their event, same with Nice Festival for what it's worth, but especially the Oyster Festival, I would think with this much lead time, I would hope that we could convince them that we are valuable to their event if we run the bike valet, and that they would at least let us do it for free, since we're providing them a service. It could be that that's not feasible this year because they don't see the value. They would want to see us do it once or do it in other places. Like we may just need to do it several times so that people get an idea that like we are actually providing a service instead of just like, showing off or trying to get free advertising. But that would require us to have, like I said, have a relationship with them. Nick, have you been in conversations with the Oyster Festival people yet, or is this all just based on what we can find on their website?
I had conversations with them last year to kind of start talking about bike valet, but it wasn't anywhere near as developed as it was this year, and I would even argue this year it's not as developed as I'd like it to be. That being said, I don't think I have the kind of rapport that would be necessary to kind of have that ask of us providing the service for free and not paying to provide the service. So I wouldn't be comfortable making that ask.
Okay, Manny, your hand's up. Do you have another comment?
Yeah, I was looking at the website. I don't know if this is the right time to just show, tell you guys what I found, but
I mean,
it does seem like
number.
it does seem like it's an $800 fee, even though I clicked on the nonprofit section and I think it's still $800.
All right, well, let's keep digging on that. Christine?
Yeah, thank you. And I'm sorry I'm off camera. I'm in a different location. So I think in the future, because this was such a wonderful service that we did provide at the Earth Day, and that we could become known for this, that maybe we have something formalized on our website to kind of advertise this. So, if you want this at your event, to contact us, something like that, just something to think about in the future.
Yeah, I think that's a solid idea.
I like that idea, Christine.
Me too.
Nick or Manny, is that something that one of the two of you would be interested in taking on? Perhaps it would make sense to take it on after the end of the season once we've done it a few times. Or Nick, if you think it would be helpful to do it, sooner so that we can use it to kind of pitch to the Oyster Festival or other events.
Yeah, and Nick, I would help you write something up, like I think a description with some of the photos. So sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to know Nick has my support if you need.
That'd be great. July is a little busy for me in general. If anyone's willing to do it without my direction, I welcome you to, but August would be something, or rather August would be the time where I would be more comfortable allotting more of my time for it.
Gotcha. And the Oyster Festival, what's the dates? Is it first weekend in September? Or maybe second weekend, but it's September, right? I guess we'll stand by.
Yes, it is. It's like September 6th through the 8th.
Okay. Well, maybe that falls into Emily's wheelhouse. Emily already kind of handles our digital media stuff, and I think is the one who has done the most work on our website. So because she's not able to be here today, I'm going to try and meet with her later this week and sync with her, and I'll mention that to her and see if that's something that she'd like to be interested in or involved in.
I had another question. Sorry. I mean, I'd be willing to take a stab at contacting somebody from the Oyster Fest and and emailing them and saying, hey, you know, we're like a part of the city, we're a nonprofit and we offer this service. Would we be able to do this for either reduced price or, for free?
So you're saying specifically for the Oyster Festival? Because it sounds like Nick already has the connection and has started a conversation.
Oh, he has. Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, but he said that he doesn't feel like, given the relationship that he's built, that he could just ask to do it for free. But if you feel like you can do that, then I don't know, maybe Nick can hand off the conversation to you and you can make the hard sell.
I don't know. I mean, I just want, yeah, I didn't know where they were at in the conversation, but maybe we can. Well, I don't want to say we can talk offline, Nick, but
You're welcome to talk offline.
okay, yeah, maybe we can talk just so you can cue me in a little bit on like the relationship.
Yeah, sure thing. That being said, I see no issue with punting over budget allocation to August, considering the events of September. But like, does anyone have any reservations to just allocate that in this meeting?
I mean, $800 is a fair amount more than 250. I think that's 10% of our budget. So I have some reservations, but also like, I think it's like I would probably be willing to agree to it under the condition that we, give our best effort to try and get them to bring it down for us and convince them that we're providing them a service. But if they are sticklers and they say, no, until this idea is proven, we want you guys to pay, then it may still be worth it.
All right, then, yeah. So, like I said, we can talk about it in August once we've kind of given them the hard sell, if you will.
But if it gives you more flexibility to authorize the money now, that like I'd be open to it.
I think that's a good
I don't have
point.
strong opinions.
Let's do it.
Judd,
Make a
that
motion.
sounds like a motion. Is that a motion, Judd?
Yes, I'll make a motion to allocate $800 toward a
A present
permit
proposal?
for the Oyster Fest in
All right.
September.
Do I have a second?
I'm sorry, sorry. I may have not been paying attention. Is this something that's do we have to reapply every year for that?
I would think so.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it seems like, why do we need this? It just seems like a lot of money.
It does, yeah.
It's a great place, I think, to prove the value of the bike valet. I mean, that's a big event, lots of people.
Yeah, no, I know, but maybe we should try it, like, so we can't do a small little bike valet program there without that permit?
Well, I'm hoping that we can. I'm hoping that we can talk them into it, but so far we haven't had any indication that they would let us do it for free.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna vote on that. I think we need to advertise, like I said, have a formal proposal, make it very formal. We haven't even taken a stab at it, really. So I'm hesitant to vote for yes on $800 of our money for something that we haven't even had a beta test on. That's my opinion.
But well, I mean, we have done the bike valet once at Earth Day, and
The Oyster Festival is a huge operation. It's a to me, it's not comparable. That's just my opinion.
Oh, okay. When you said beta test, I thought maybe you didn't know about Earth Day. Like in my
No,
mind,
I
Earth
was
Day
there.
not-
I took people's tickets. I was there.
Oh, that's
How
right.
many bike parkers did you have? I was not there.
I think 12.
It was
Well-
full, and we don't even have. Would we have enough equipment for that Oyster Fest? Because
Christine, if it's full, it's full, like a parking garage. You don't keep cramming them in. When the parking garage is full, you tell people it's full, sorry. And then you could use that to go back the following year to say, to the organizers of the Oyster Fest, look, we were full the whole time. We need more parking and we're valuable service, and you should let us do this for free.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
sort of how I look at it.
Yeah, I think in other words, what Judd's kind of arguing is that if the thing fills up, that's a good problem to have. Right?
Yeah.
It's a great demonstration of how much demand there is for this. Manny?
I'm not speaking for anybody, but maybe, we could talk to Laz. Maybe they could send someone, have a volunteer there. If we do the Oyster Festival, if it is that big an event.
Just to help staff.
Yeah, just to help staff. Yep.
I had a question, but it might sound a little unkosher. Would we be able to connect with Parks and Rec and operate outside of the festival?
Good question. Great
Because
question.
that's inside the festival as a vendor, but the people, go outside of the festival. And so I feel like, would we be able to get a space from the Parks and Rec to do the ballet?
Yeah, exactly. That's
Outside.
thinking out of the box. Good idea, man. That's right.
Yeah, that is a good idea.
Partnering up.
I don't
That's
know if Rec and Parks is the right entity. Maybe they are. They're not a bad place to start for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure who would be the right person, actually. You're right. But I was just guessing, since it's Veterans Park, right?
Yeah, but my guess is that the festival has like anything, they have the whole park essentially. So anything that goes on in the park, it would be within the festival. I mean, I think my preference is still to work with the festival instead of trying to work around them. So let's start there. But I think it's a great idea. If the festival refuses to play ball, then like it's worth pursuing. But we should try and play ball first.
Good point, Tanner.
But we do have an open motion. Judd moved to allocate the $800. Christine, I'm going to interpret what Christine said as a no vote, but we still don't even have a second. Would anybody like to second?
I'll second the motion.
All right. Then it goes to a vote. All in favor?
I'll vote just so that we have the access to the funds. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm in the same boat. I would this isn't part of the formal resolution, I would say, but I would encourage us to condition this on having given our best effort to number one, talk the Oyster Festival into either lowering or eliminating the fee, and number two, looked at our options to do it outside the bounds of the festival. But if neither of those happen, then I think having the $800 allocated so that we can streamline the process going forward makes sense to me.
But I am with Christine. I do think it's a little pricey. And so I'd be happy to help figure out, or collaborate with Nick with, figuring out how we can lower the price on that.
Alrighty, then the motion passes. I don't know if formally or informally with this condition that I described. Okay, so we are at 7:32. We've gone through all of our agenda items. At this point, I will entertain a motion to vote to approve the minutes from last month's meeting, from the June meeting.
I motion to approve the meeting minutes from the June 3rd meeting.
Thanks, Nick. Anybody have feedback on the minutes, corrections, deletions, or a second to approve?
I wasn't there.
Manny, was that a second? Christine? Was that also a second? I think we got at least 1 second there, so I'll.
Yeah.
And Nick, were you there? You were there. Yeah, okay, so we have 4 members of the commission who were there last month, who can approve. So we'll bring it to a vote. All in favor? Christine, thank you very much. That passes with 4. And unless anybody has anything else to bring up, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We've gone through all the agenda items.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Judd. A second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Manny. All in favor? Alrighty, that's everybody. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks, Craig, for staffing, and Delene for note-taking and running the call. And we'll see you all next month in August.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Happy 4th of July.